The Senate this week is expected to take up the nomination of Kash Patel to head up the FBI, and it comes as some Democratic senators, like California's Adam Schiff, call his potential confirmation a, quote, terrible tragedy. Chris Piehota authored the book Wanted, the FBI I Once Knew. He's a retired FBI executive assistant director. He's up late with me tonight here on the Final Five. Chris, good to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for letting me visit with you and your audience.
Yeah, well, so I want to get just to get a sense of where you're coming from, and so our audience knows where you're coming from here. Talk about your experience in the FBI and how that really framed the book that you put out a couple months ago.
Yeah, great. I spent 25 years with the FBI, and I joined pre-9/11 and had a perspective of the FBI leading up to 9/11 and then during 9/11 and how it changed. The organization changed significantly after 9/11. It was mandated to become a national security and domestic security organization versus the previous law enforcement and kind of cops and robber organization that it used to be. And the FBI went through a lot of very foundational changes after 9/11, which led us to some of the more strategic changes that were made and led us toward the challenges that the FBI is facing today. So I wrote the book to capture some of what I learned from the old breed of special agents and some of the changes that happened to the FBI and how we can possibly get the FBI back on track and return it to a position of trust and confidence with the American people.
And that's one of the reasons President Trump decided to go with Kash Patel as his potential FBI director here. What's your take on I mean, look, he's a popular figure in the Trump orbit. Does he have what it takes to head up the Federal Bureau of Investigation?
I think he does, and I think what's most important is that he has the trust and confidence of the chief executive and the attorney general. And I think Mr. Patel has a good background when it comes to looking at the threat issues that the FBI will be facing if he takes the helm after this week. So I think he has a good broad background. He understands the threat environment. He's a former litigator. And I also believe that he has a wave of change in mind on, again, a foundational level for the FBI, which I think is required at this point.
There's the realm in which you talk about the FBI evolving. There are a lot of people who are not in law enforcement who voted for President Trump, who support where he's coming from on this, who believe that change needs to come in other ways, whether it be the fact that they're not supporting law and order. Maybe there is a reform that needs to be made out there. These seem to be two different views of reforming the FBI. So what's a way to move forward with this that would get more people on board?
I think what has to happen is if Mr. Patel successfully goes through the confirmation process this week, he has to show up as the leader of the FBI and who is going to bring the next iteration of the FBI to the American people. And he's got to show immediate action in three areas. One, the FBI's culture has eroded over time. He's got to restore the culture of the FBI to one of service to the American people. Two, he's got to look at the leadership environment of the FBI. The FBI's problems, I would say 80 to 90% of all their problems are due to poor leadership. And the third area he's got to look at is taking an inventory of the operational practices of the FBI to make sure that they're doing what they say they're doing and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing when it comes to the core mission set of the FBI, and that is to combat national security threats and crime problems and not get tangled up in too many peripheral issues, which has happened over the past several years.
And look, when we talk about the FBI, you know full well that, this is supposed to be an independent organization that can investigate anybody without fear or favor, but we're also in these hyper-political times where no matter, if you had Democrats nominating somebody, there would likely be Republican opposition. There are many Democrats who oppose Patel at this point. They're saying that he might be conflicted with potential foreign lobbying ties, but do we have to accept the fact that right now you're really not going to please everybody when it comes to something as critical as this position?
I think in a position such as the FBI director, if you try to please everybody, you're going to end up pleasing nobody. And I think what Mr. Patel has to look at is how he returns the FBI to the service of the American people. That trust and confidence we briefly spoke of has to be restored and protected. So I think what you have to look at in this instance is having that steel backbone that the FBI used to have when it came to navigating the political and social operating environments. And I think over the past several years, there's either been an inability to maintain that backbone or a disinterest in maintaining its political objectivity and that apolitical stance.
Well, based on what we've seen so far with the nominations, it looks like he does have the support needed to advance to his full confirmation, but we're going to see where that goes from here. Chris Piehota, again, thanks for joining us tonight. Again, his book is called Wanted. We appreciate you joining us here on The Final Five, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And The Final Five is back right after this.